izule obvious na musuqhaqela movious yayona iumbrella i-podcast enothando labantu thanda nokwazi ngohambo labantu hamba ngefaith futhi ayihambi ngesite kodwa mekumnyama iyayifaka nelight.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Creative Unplugged podcast. Welcome. And as you know, when we come like this, I'm not alone, and we have sister of the show,
Hey,
Archard.
what's up, everybody? My name is Archard Africa, the sister of the show.
Yeah.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Creatives Unplugged podcast, and it's Women's Month.
Yeah, banjani abantu bayaphila kodwa sinibingelele one more time. Zithini lapha indaba usiphathela umgosi before si-introduce i-guest yethu today njengoba nibona kukuhle kanje etafuleni.
Yeah, so as you guys know, I always have some news to share.
Yes.
But just shout out to all the amazing, wonderful women out there.
Yeah.
And the amazing work that you do. And I just hope everyone is enjoying the Women's Month. But I think I just have two things to share today.
Yeah.
Ne? First of all, we have a new single out as the Creatives Unplugged podcast.
Yes.
It's called Ipupo. Yeah, so it's out on all digital media streaming platforms. And we currently have a challenge going on.
Yes, tell us more about the challenge.
So it's a competition for all the creatives. Basically, what you need to do is you need to introduce yourself, tell us what your dream is, and then in the background you play our music while you show us what your dream is. It could be you could be dribbling a ball, you could be writing, you could be singing, you could be doing anything that you do, or painting even. And then you post it on your social media platform, you tag us on TikTok and on Instagram or on Facebook, wherever you choose, and then the post with the most response gets to win our hamper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the hamper look like?
So the hamper is a free photo shoot with Movies Media Studios. We also have a free profile by African Rockstar Creatives. We're also going to be featured on the music video of Ipupo, which is going to be on all the TV channels.
Yeah. Interesting. We're bringing competitions now.
Yeah.
Abantu kumele bawine.
Yes.
Shout out to
it's worth 3,000 Rand, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Creative Unplugged Podcast, Movies Media, and Ocean Lines Record.
Ocean Line Records.
Yes. So it's going to be an EP actually, but for now we just chose to release the single, which is Ipupo. So good luck everyone. Nzame nje ukuletonja apply lapha send for a challenge yethu. So what's another mgosi?
No more mgosi, but I'm very excited about the guest we have today. Yes. She is a journalist, trained journalist.
Yes.
She is a writer. She
is a facilitator.
Yes. And she does a lot of activism in the community, especially with making sure that children's voices are heard, which is very exciting. So I think without further ado, let's introduce Miss Deborah Ewing.
Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, thank you everyone on the team. It's really exciting to be here. Thanks, Archard, for the invitation. Lego, it's really great to meet you guys.
Yes, good to have you.
You look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So please tell us, we already had like your surname and your name. Where you from? Where you grew up?
Okay, so I grew up in England in a place called the New Forest, which is like a rural area on the southern coast of England.
Yeah.
And the name is Scottish.
Oh,
Ewing
okay.
name is Scottish.
Oh, nice. So you also did school there, like lower grades?
I did, I did all my schooling there and went to journalism college as well, and my university. I did university in Bristol, and during that time, that's where I really became aware about what was going on in South Africa.
Yeah.
And we were saying earlier, it's not something we were taught in school.
Yeah.
So you come out of school with a history that was fed to you, and then you have to kind of dig through and find, what was missing from that. And this, the history of colonization by England, by Britain, and what was the support of the apartheid regime.
Yeah.
That was something I was like finding out for myself.
Yeah. So how's the education system that side? Are you studying from primary school and then you go to high school, or there is a different setup?
Yeah, so you have your pretty much like here, but it's not called matric.
It's not called matric.
No. So you do secondary schooling, and a lot of people do A levels, and then go to college or university.
Yeah. And then there's also practical skills within that, like when you still to high school.
Well, I was really lucky when I finished high school. I went to a technical college.
Oh, okay.
Which were to study journalism. Get that professional qualification. But that included, it was like on the job. It was like doing an apprenticeship. So I worked for a newspaper almost from the start. Then you go away for a couple of months and you study law. You come back and you're out on the street, covering court cases, and then you go back and you study public admin or whatever, or different skills of writing. So it's not really done so much like that anymore. People do a degree first.
So why journalism?
I was always interested in writing. I was always interested in listening to other people's perspectives and other people's stories. So I wrote fiction, but I also wanted to write about what was happening around me. And then when I started to kind of learn about what was happening in South Africa as a teenager, and hearing about the Soweto uprising and the terrible violence, excuse me, and then I thought, like, what can I do? This isn't where I'm from. I don't know much about this. The only thing I could do was write. So I volunteered to work for the anti-apartheid movement in London, the anti-apartheid news. So that was where I really got education.
I think it's insane. You're 16 and you're seeing the news about the Soweto uprising, which we learn about today, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
So now the world knows my age.
You don't look good, don't worry.
No, that's fine, because it's like you realize, the reason I mentioned that is you realize that these are intergenerational issues. Justice, justice, peace, people just getting along with each other. We have as many crises in the world now as we did then. So it's like we have to keep talking to each other, pass on the baton, speak out, not be silent, not be complicit about what's happening anywhere in the world.
So what was your role actually on the news channel that side? You were presenting the news or on the field?
No, I was out in the field and writing.
Oh, nice.
So, not in front of cameras or mics. That's not.
So you research and get information, and then so it can be there on the news.
Yes. So in terms of what was happening in South Africa, by 1988, I was working for quite a few publications that were focusing on that. So I came out undercover in 1988 during a state of emergency because at that time South African journalists could go to prison for up to 10 years if they gave accounts of the unrest or the violence that weren't approved by the state, by the police. So it was like a lot of, mass detentions of children as well as adults, and the news not getting out. So there were a lot of alternative media outlets that were doing their best, really being persecuted. So I was able to interview some of those. Yes.
Wow.
So moving around the country and meeting people working in the liberation movements and in the alternative media, the trade unions. Yeah. So try and get what was really happening outside. And it's like, I just think of the parallels now, with what is happening in Palestine, and how some people have this extreme view that everything is fine out there, and other people are like, look what's going on our screens. Children are dying, people are being killed at food aid points, and so it's like the quest for justice is always there. Humans.
So with that news channel, it was going in hand with the newspaper.
I was working in newspapers.
Yes. So same news that you were collecting was going to the news channel as well as on the newspaper, or it was like different years?
Yeah, most of it was going out to newspapers, like on the left, with the solidarity movements that were calling for sanctions, calling for boycotts, etc. In support of the South African liberation movements.
You play such an important role.
It's insane, right?
To give people news from that side, it was like sort of making them aware on what's happening in Africa, especially in South Africa. So does that means you were like collecting deeply from your source in South Africa, or you were just getting online? Which is
you work. I mean, that time wasn't really online.
You had to travel.
I think we had fax machines.
Oh yes,
and I think the first real people using internet and email, was like 89, 90.
Wow.
But it wasn't even safe. So people were, it's word of mouth. It's contacting people. It's using phone, using letter, being really careful about.
So when was your first time getting a chance to travel to get the news and go back before deciding to come and live here? Is there a chance like that?
I was really fortunate, and we talked about the importance of travel.
Yes.
I was really fortunate to travel through work from as a journalist. So I got sent to places, all over Africa and in Asia, and also I went to Northern Ireland, where there's a history of political conflict and unrest, and many people in England still didn't know about that. So travel is so important that you're not just taking your opinions from what you hear, or from what's being fed to you. So I was lucky because it was part of my job. And in South Africa, in terms of our Bill of Rights and in terms of, the UN Charter on Human Rights, we talk about the freedom of movement. But if you can't afford a ticket, you're not really free to move. So I think, any initiatives where we support young people together, and it doesn't have to be across the world. You can go from one province to another, go to the beach for the first time, see the mountains, go and see Parliament. We have to create those opportunities for people to be in touch with each other, and build solidarity around the kind of shared threats. The state of our environment. It's like we can look at the beach and think, oh, everything looks great, we can go swimming, but we know about pollution, we know about the prospect of drilling that's going to affect our environment, and then it affects the whole world, quality of water, the flooding, or it's related. So we need to find ways of, now that we can, connecting across countries.
I think it's quite brave of you to have done that. First of all, just cycling back to the undercover thing, and during a time like that, I think you played quite a big role, and it's very appreciated. I think, having anyone from that wasn't black at that time that was doing such as well, it's also risky, and as a woman as well. So thank you for that. That's very appreciated. And then I also see that you also advocate a lot for children as well, and you're justice. You're seeking justice in your writing. It's not just apartheid, but it's also for children. So how did you get into that?
Okay, it was like a natural flow, because after 94, so there's political freedom.
Yes.
But there's not economic freedom, and there isn't. People don't suddenly have all their basic rights that are promised in the Constitution. So children were really badly affected by the violence, children who'd born so-called born frees, but they're living with parents who'd lived under apartheid, whose opportunities had been taken away, parents who'd been in prison, parents who had been unable to live the life that they really wanted to. And then as the country is trying to build and grow, we're now hit by the HIV/AIDS pandemic. And you've got children being orphaned, you've got parents dying, and got families who've invested everything in their education and the support of their young people, and they're dying. And we had to fight so hard for access to treatment. You remember the TAC, Treatment Action Campaign, having to go to court to force our own government to make treatment available. And so suddenly it was like, we're in this new country, but we are still facing the the deprivation and the inequality that everyone was fighting against, and we need to do something about that. And children need to be involved. We need to listen to children. If children were old enough to be detained, if children were old enough to take on adult responsibilities, they're old enough to listen to.
Yes. Wow, that's very interesting. Because also I think also in African culture, I think we also they also take children's voices very seriously. And I think it's amazing that you get to also travel to other parts of Africa, Malawi and so forth, to also, spread what you are, you're active, you being an activist for. So I would also want to know, further in Africa, what else are you working on? Because I know that you're doing more. You're doing quite a lot. I want to make sure that we cover it.
Okay. So yes, there's lots of connections across the continent, but now with everything being online, I don't even need to go. We have our Zoom calls. We meet online. We exchange stuff. So I'm working through an organization called Activism, which is based here, and it's does regional solidarity work. It supports social justice partners around the continent. And so part of their focus is on climate justice. So there is some amazing work happening in Zimbabwe, particularly among young women who were affected by Cyclone Idai. If you recall that, it caused huge damage a few years ago across Mozambique and Zimbabwe. And so women in a network called Waneka, they've been documenting their experience and saying, this is what happened to us. And these were our needs, and these were our resources. This is what we could bring to the recovery, but we weren't really being listened to. We took all this responsibility to rebuild our villages, our communities, our homes, our schools, our roads, and aid was sent in. But it's not listening to us. It's like people outside deciding. So young women in rural Zimbabwe were saying, okay, we're going to tell our stories, and then we're looking at how do we share that with the rest of the world as sort of not so much lessons, but shared experiences, shared indigenous knowledge about how do we recover from disasters and how do we support each other. So I love that work, because I think anything I've got, anything I've learned, it might not be relevant, it might not be useful, but I want to share it, and learn in turn from younger people and listen to them about what they want to see in the world today. So yes, we're doing some really interesting games and films to share those stories.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask if their organization who are on the ground working close with the girls, and then maybe doing those programs.
That's right. It's another organization in Malawi called the Green Girls Platform, and this organization, Activism, is supporting them to tell their stories through film, through video, their stories of building leadership, creating safe spaces for young women to talk about their experiences, opportunities for income generation, starting businesses. One of the issues is access to menstrual health products, because if you can't get menstrual health products and you can't get the healthcare you need, then for a lot of your life you're being effectively removed from participation in your community, in work, in learning. If you're losing days because you're in pain or because you can't get sanitary pads. So that's another thing they're working on, which is also really close to my heart.
Nice.
I think it's amazing, like what women can do. Maybe I'm being biased, but I don't know. I think it would have been such a different society if it was a matriarchal society, because women are so aware of nurturing and of, you know what I mean? Like sometimes a patriarchal society is always, favoring men, not to say that they are not important, but I feel like having more women, involved in such things, it could add a healthy balance, because as you say, it was the first time actually hearing about the fact that in Zimbabwe, women were listened to in terms of their solutions to climate change. And I think that it's important for us to be aware of such things, because we don't really talk about climate change much, and you know what I mean? So, and women are usually solution based because they are mothers, they are nurturers, and you have it intrinsically, you know what I mean? But then I know that you've written 13 books, like some fiction, some non-fiction, and poetry. So what do you have more of? Do you have more of poetry, or do you have more of
the two?
I guess in terms of what I publish, more children's books and books with children. So a lot of books I didn't bring, but I really loved working on. I work with an organization in Msinga in northern KZN, where children are very involved in caring for livestock. So it's not, which they are in a lot of rural areas, and so because they have that responsibility, we know that they know about livestock, but they don't make the decisions. So it's a program doing with an organization called Umdugachani, and they are doing extension and agribusiness support to farmers in that area. So we have a program where we're involving children and young people, not because everyone wants to be a farmer, but because if you are working in those areas and you're growing food and you're raising livestock, and that is essential to the survival of the family, then let's see how we can affirm and support what is being done, because especially in this situation with food insecurity and water insecurity around the world, I think we all need to know how to grow food.
It should be basic. So children are learning about that, and so we created activity books around animal health and human health with the children through storytelling, and the books are in Zulu and English in the same book, and it's the children's stories, and we credit them for creating the workshops, and the worksheets. And also, so that you also translate most of your work into Swahili and Amharic as well.
Well, I don't do it.
Oh, you don't do it, but then your
English
work
and
is
French and very bad Zulu. So, but fortunately, the publishers have translators.
Yes. So your books are available in Aramaic as well. Do you choose which languages you want to?
No, it
demand?
depends who's interested in buying. In that case, so one of the books was translated into Amharic, was about children's rights, called A Better World, and I think the Department of Education in Ethiopia.
That's amazing. That's one of the oldest languages, right?
I believe so.
Yes.
I mean, I only know it's my book because it's got the cover photo, and it has. But I don't even recognize my own name in that.
Wow.
So
that's quite
Ethiopia?
That's quite an old one. But
it's the one from Ethiopia.
The characters are so interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how important is it for you for women, to be more aware, just like how you are? I think I'm quite, starstruck in a way, because I feel like you're doing so much in terms of the social justice. You're so aware of so many things, like even the children that are shepherds, you know what I mean? No one actually really thinks about those things, you know what I mean? And you're actively changing society in your own way. What would you say to young women as well, like to be more aware of maybe their surroundings? What advice would you give them to be as aware as you are?
So I think my experience, as I travel, is there are thousands, there are millions, there are billions of people doing amazing things, but they don't all get into, the public eye. But we can learn wherever we go. And like I always said to my children, my son would say, I'm bored. And I would say, the cure for boredom is curiosity, and there is no cure for curiosity.
Yeah. True.
So just keep asking questions. And children know when something is wrong. Babies know when something is wrong. They will cry before they can communicate in a language that we as adults understand. Children know. Children are ethical beings. So we need to trust them when they tell us their truth, and we need to allow them and encourage them to ask questions. So when they see something and they see it's not fair, whether it's bullying at school, whether it's being treated unfairly at home, whether it's something on the street, whether it's seeing people living in poverty or being abused, they know it's wrong. And when they ask, we as adults, we have a duty to answer their questions and help them get more information. So we don't protect through ignorance, saying, it's going to be okay, business, or everything will be all right.
But it's not.
No, it's not. We make a safer world by making each other safer.
And also, like, when it comes to that, I love listening to children as well. Like, I work closely with children, and I feel like, yes, they are the future. Of course, it's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I feel like we always try to ignore the impact that parents have on children. You know what I mean? Especially children that have a voice. So, what advice would you give parents, especially in South Africa? I feel like they are not as aware and welcoming to curious children, and then you end up with children that have identity issues and stuff like that. So how important is it for parents to also be self-aware that they are not imposing or on their children, or they are not putting too much pressure, or they're not blocking them into trying to express themselves, as it's important to listen to them?
I think as parents we do that. So in terms of advice to parents, you're probably better off to ask my children how I should do things differently. But I think being self-reflective is so I'm sure I do things that my parents did. So I'll disclose, my dad used to hit us and my mom didn't. But that was like my dad, that's what my dad is like. We didn't he needs to change. It's like, that's how he disciplines, and we could have come out of that either thinking that is the right thing to do, I'm going to hit my children because that's what my dad did, or I'm not going to hit them. And so I came out thinking that is wrong. If it's wrong to hit an adult, it has to be wrong to hit a child. And if that is your lesson, that's what you're going to teach me. If I disobey or I say something you don't like, you hit me. So then I didn't hit my children. My daughter says, sometimes we wish you did, because with the other punishment, like the not talking or the shouting. So we have to think about what is violence really, and growing up I'm thinking it's physical stuff or it's sexual stuff, and it can be talking, it can be shy, it can be not saying anything, silence is violence. So I think as parents we don't know everything, we don't know what to do. 8 billion people on the planet. I don't know whose parents got anything right, because we seem to be in a mess. So let's listen to each other, talk to each other. And when I look at someone, I try not to judge and say, do I do that? Have I ever done that? How can I be better? Okay. And I just also found it interesting that you also put your books into audio format for disabled children. Oh, right. Yeah, let's talk about audio description.
Yes.
So I also do work. So everything I do is kind of freelance. But I work with a newish company in Durban called Shazasin, Accessible Media. And is it okay to say company name?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we do audio description, which is making the visual verbal for people who can't see. So a lot of people think that if you watch a film and you can't see, then you can't access it at all. You're going to listen to the music, or you'll listen to the dialogue, you listen to the sound effects. But basically that's it. But with audio description, it's a recognized art form and an access tool where whether it's film, whether it's live theater, whether it's a concert, sport, a book, an exhibition, you can describe. People will write the script, and a voice artist can read the description of what is happening in front of you. So
I've never heard of this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's actually really big. If you have the opportunity to travel on a plane, or if you watch Netflix, if you watch streaming services, whichever ones, most of them do have, with your closed caption and subtitling options, you'll see AD. So it's audio description.
I've seen that.
So just really try it. Just
That's what it
listen.
means.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's good, you can close your eyes and listen, and the description of what is happening in front of on the screen will enable you to enjoy and understand what's going on.
Wow.
So that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I actually did it with 2 of the books. So Tell Me About the Changes in My Body, which is
this
near
one.
to you there. Yeah. So that's a book about puberty and adolescence, like how to have positive conversations about things that make us so embarrassed and scared.
Yeah.
So that is also an audio described book. So if you listen to it on the Shazasin app, you get a description of all the images as well.
Okay.
So it's not just text being read. And then with Fragments, which is the latest book that I brought out, which is a book of poetry. It's actually a combination. Well, it's got a poem on one side and a photograph on the other that's related to the poem. And then the book is audio described, so I recite it. And then there's a description of every photo.
Okay.
So in that way, people who can't see can get a mental image of what it is.
It's crazy. That's earlier on when we spoke about AHF, and then now I see
The logo.
of AHF. Nice.
No,
So
that's amazing.
you do have a book which talks more about when you the time you were a journalist. So more on the apartheid writings, freedom, fighting.
Okay, yeah, the secret,
something like that.
The Secret Thread.
Oh,
Which
okay.
one is this one?
Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
nice.
So that was a UNISA Hidden Histories, but so that took a very, very long time to compile. But
That looks thick.
it is thick.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite
Interesting.
accessible.
Yeah.
Every chapter in that starts with a story. So it's what I'd call a social history. It's a lot about the right to travel. It's called Secret Thread: Personal Journeys Beyond Apartheid.
Yeah.
And it was looking at a project or program that was set up and supported by Beyers and Ilse Norder. So Beyers Norder was somebody who was like deep in the heart of apartheid, coming from a family in the Broederbond, the Christian nationalists on the extreme kind of pro-apartheid side. And through seeing with his own eyes the impact of apartheid, visiting the mines and seeing how migrant workers were treated and that the economy rested on that, going overseas and seeing that there were societies where there wasn't apartheid, then that enabled him to question everything that he had been taught, the theology of apartheid. He was able to question that. And he stood up and said, it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much ostracized from his own community for standing out, and his wife also. So they supported people in South Africa to just make short study tours, to go as couples out of the country. He said, you can't just tell somebody they're wrong. You can show them they're wrong. You should tell them they're wrong, but it doesn't change them. Telling someone they're wrong doesn't change them. So, but if you create an opportunity to see
a teachable experience,
things in a different light, and that opportunity for 300 couples, I think, who were able to, from the 1960s through to 1994. Wow. And they did the same thing you were talking about earlier with the Mlazi project. Travel, stay in people's homes, see the life of people like you, but in a different country.
Yeah.
I just have one more question. Just because there's also like a book that you're involved in called Voices of Palestine. Is it a book or is it a movement?
Oh, it was a book, and it came out, a lot of people think that what's going on in Palestine with the genocide started on October the 7th in 2023. It didn't. It's been going on for many, many years, since the Nakba, the catastrophe of 1948.
That's insane.
Palestinians were displaced from their land and killed in large numbers, with many massacres, so that the state of Israel could be created there. And so the book Voices for Palestine came out in 2021, I think, and that was with a foreword of a poet who I met in exile in London, Mongani Wali Sorote. So it was a collection of poetry in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So,
wow.
So I wanted to ask with your activism, as you are an author with these books, so now when you with your writings, like poetry for you, do you write like raising awareness about certain things, or you just rhyme scheme of like telling the story of anything?
Okay. So sometimes I sit down and I'm going to write about this. It doesn't necessarily start out as a poem. It might become one. And other times I wake up in the morning and I think, I have to get this out. If I don't get this out, I'm not going to get through the day. And then it's almost like it's a dictation in your head. It's like, can I write this fast enough? What I'm hearing in my head, I just have to get it out. So it was almost like a survival strategy, because so much going on that we can't process, that we can't deal with. We can't do everything. We want to help everywhere. And we sometimes feel powerless. So it's a way of processing and a way of sharing and connecting with other people. I think that's really what all my work is about. It's about connecting. That it makes no sense to see ourselves as different from each other. Same stardust, same habitat, same, birth, life, ill health, death. We all go through it. So it's not even really a moral question. It's like it makes no sense to other. So that's
which are other writers that motivate you or you are inspired by?
So many.
Nice.
So many. I think in growing up in England, as a young person in England, I don't know if you knew, as a poet called Benjamin Zephaniah. So he's London. He's late now, very sadly. But he was, I suppose, like dub and slam, and those days we didn't use, the term, but a performance poet. It was so powerful. And he used a lot of rhyming. He was very clever and very witty. So I really admired that, but that wasn't, that wasn't what I was good at. And then there's another poet in London, Lemon Sissay, who's like British Ethiopian, I think, and he's in his 70s, and he writes a poem every morning, and he always does something about light, so I really love that. And then there are poets here that I really admire, so like Lesego and Polheng, but sermons from some time back, Moneo Mahale, and sorry, I'm going to start.
It's okay.
I'll go on a list and I'll miss people out. I should have said them, but I love listening to voices from all over the world and different perspectives, and that's awesome.
So I think we can just maybe open the platform for you to recite something for us, if you're okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then which other book here? It's more poetry based.
Okay, so Fragments is the latest one. Voices Unbound that's an interesting volume, because that's an anthology.
Oh, yeah.
And it was poetry that was produced during a symposium on poetic inquiry. So poetic inquiry is, I think, relatively new in South Africa, but it's both using poetry as a research methodology and using poetry to express data from research, like found poetry.
Okay.
So here we go. To all our creatives, for the first time, we have a poet to recite for us.
Okay,
Deborah.
Thank you so much. So this poem actually was in a collection on justice, and because it's Women's Month, I decided to read this, and I want to say it is about the patriarchy,
yes.
and I want to say the patriarchy is as harmful as to men as it is to women. So it's not, Women's Month isn't an attack on men.
Yes.
It's about, let's look at what do we expect of girls and women? What do we expect of boys and men? Is this the best we can do?
Yeah.
How can we create a society that is equal for everybody? And how do we deal with this scourge of violence when we are gender-based violence, when we've largely raised boys and men to say you must be strong and you must be powerful, you must be in control.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? So this is called Don't Tell Me.
Okay.
Don't tell me why. Why is a winding river of cold blood. We are up to our necks in reasons. We have PhDs to go with our PTSD. Colonization and socialization, depredation and emasculation, explanations and correlations. Swallow your why. Why is a hole, an unheeded warning that no is not an invite. We are buried in centuries of why. Emotional muteness, physical bruteness, manhood negated, frustrated, contested, neglected. I am deafened by why, bludgeoned by lack and loss, by rage over roles reversed, lamented choices, resented voices. We wade in a fetid lake of lawlessness and lovelessness. I want to know why not. Tell me why he didn't break my bones with his taboos. Tell me why he does not spell his failure with her name. Tell me why he'll never blame his nothing on our something. In fact, I know that story too. Tell him, my brother. Tell him.
Nice. That was great.
Amazing. Thank you. That was amazing.
Yeah. So I also see this one. This is the latest book.
Yes.
Tell us, before we wrap up, tell us more about this one.
Okay, so Fragments is a collection of mainly short poems that were written, gathered during the COVID when we were all cut off from each other.
Oh, yeah.
And feel like, are we ever going to get out of this, and reflecting on the meaning of life, Yeah. And I was isolated for a short while down on the Wild Coast.
Okay.
So the nature is incredibly beautiful, but you couldn't speak to anyone or see anyone. So I would look out and go for walks where I was allowed to walk and take photos, and just to reflect on that, connections and disconnections between us, and how, it's called Fragments because that's about things being broken up and disconnected. Yeah. But how sometimes in a shell or a glimpse of water, you can see the whole universe and just see yourself as, this little moat that's part of it. And,
That's so clever.
That's nice.
That's
Even
clever.
with the pictures inside, you can connect. Actually, this is great. So please share with our viewers, where can they access your work? Where can they find you,
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, and it's Ewing_Deborah.
Yes.
And then my website is shorelines.coza. So you can find some of the books there.
Yep. Nice. Good to have you. So, Child, do you have anything before we wrap up?
I don't know. I'm in awe. Obviously, it's excuse me, it's Women's Month, and I think it's amazing that we have our first writer as well, and such a powerful one at that. And we just want to say thank you for coming through today. And if there's any one message you think you want to leave with here as we are about to wrap up, please, for our viewers and for women, what you want to leave us with.
Okay, well, I'd like to also thank you. Thank you for the platform that you've created, because you're celebrating, I think in the midst of all the challenges and the frustrations we face, there's a long list we could do of things to complain about, but you are celebrating creativity. And I think all of us, we are all creative. I don't really like the word creatives because it implies that that's one group of people and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
We all have creativity.
Yes.
And so, it's wonderful that you're celebrating that. And I hope everybody, all your audience will celebrate their own creativity, trust in that impulse to make something new.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your insights, and amazing story, amazing journey, and you are here with us today, so I feel like we're blessed.
Very.
We're so blessed.
Blessed. Thank you so much for the invitation.
So to all our viewers, Creative Unplugged podcast, we are out. Don't forget to subscribe, press like, visit our pages. We have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have Facebook, and also you can find us on YouTube. So we out.
We out. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.